I'm Kari Akins, a member of the Cheyenne League of Women Voters and your moderator for this forum. I thank you for your interest in the primary election in Laramie County. For more than 100 years, the League of Women Voters has been a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization that works to help people to be engaged in their government, to be informed, and to vote. Our forum is being recorded and will be posted to the Cheyenne League's Facebook and YouTube pages. This forum includes candidates for Cheyenne City Council Ward 2. The Zoom master is Karen Meister-Emmerich and will control the screens. Our timekeeper is Mary Keating-Scott and will notify candidates when 30 seconds and 50 seconds remain and when time has ended for the response to a question. The race for Cheyenne City Council Ward 2 has 7 candidates and 4 will advance to the primary or to the general election. We are pleased to have several of those candidates with us here right now, including Kathy Emmons, Dennis Rafferty, Tom Seagrave, Chris Camargo, and Lynn Heiler. We will start by giving each candidate 2 minutes for introduction and then go into the questions. I will be rotating the order in which candidates are given the opportunity to respond throughout the evening. And we will do some flash feedback in which each candidate will have 30 seconds to respond to a prompted topic. For the introductory statements, we will start with Tom Seagrave. Then we'll go to Chris Camargo, then to Kathy Emmons, then to Lynn Heiler, then to Dennis Rafferty. So let's go ahead and get started with Tom Seagrave. Please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate the League for all the efforts you put forward to do this. I appreciate your efforts on the questionnaire that you sent out earlier. I think this is a fabulous way for the community to get to know the candidates. In your introduction, you asked us to talk about ourselves, which is probably not easy for most of us. So we're not used to doing that, but I'll just tell you a little bit about me and a little bit about my family, perhaps. We have been in Cheyenne, my wife and I and our children, for 30 years. I've been in business since out of school type business for 46 years. I have been a board member and chairman of the Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce. I have been a board member, a foundation board member and chairman of the Cheyenne Kiwanis organization. I've been a board member and chairman of the DDA. I have served 3 terms on the city council and I'm running for re-election. And I would like to now, and I'll do it again, thank the voters of Ward 2 for giving me that opportunity. I've been so blessed to be part of Cheyenne. When my wife and I moved here, we had twin sons that were 17 months old and my daughter was 2 weeks old. We have raised our children here. They've done exceptionally well in our schools. They've all graduated from the University of Wyoming. They're all employed, which is a great thing, and have fabulous careers. And I attribute a lot of that to our community. My boys have been in Boy Scouts. The kids have been in athletics and all types of things. We've met so many wonderful families. I truly believe Cheyenne is a wonderful community and I would love to serve it again. So thank you, and I would appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Seagrave. Now we'll go to Christopher Camargo. You have 2 minutes for your introduction.
All righty, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
I've been okay. Well, my name is Chris Camargo. I appreciate the invitation to be here tonight. I've been a part of the Cheyenne community my entire life, so 34 years. I feel I'm a great candidate for this role. But I have volunteered for well over a decade in youth sports, which is my primary reason for running for city council is the youth in our community. Professionally, I've I have been in leadership roles for much of my working career, and this gives me the experience I feel the community needs. I am a single father of 2 wonderful kids, a boy and a girl. My daughter just graduated. My son's going into junior high. I wouldn't want them to grow up anywhere else but the Cheyenne community. I appreciate I would appreciate the Cheyenne's vote, and I feel I would serve you well.
Thank you, Mr. Camargo. Now we'll go to Kathy Emmons for her 2-minute introduction.
Thank you. Good evening. And again, thank you to the League. Having been a part of these in the past, I know how much work it is, so I really appreciate all the time and energy you all put into this. I've been in Cheyenne for about 37 years. Chris makes me feel a little old there. I moved here from Wyoming, or from Nebraska, I'm sorry. I have a very broad professional experience. My husband and I were owners of a retail business here in Cheyenne for 10 years. So I've gotten to see kind of the business side of the world. I spent 10 years in state government. 4 years of that, I was the director of the Department of Workforce Services. And in that role, I got to work with both workforce development and economic development for the state and Cheyenne. I also administered a $90 million budget while I was in that position. So I understand, the challenges of a large budget. I spent many years working in nonprofit advocacy with children and families and childcare issues. And then the last 15 years, I've worked in healthcare leadership, which has given me the opportunity to work closely with the last couple of mayors, the city council members, many city departments, and county commissioners, to name a few. As far as elected positions, I'm currently on the LCCC Board of Trustees, and I've done lots of different civic involvement, from my kids' sports and school activities to Family Promise, and I'm currently on the USI board for homeless youth. And I think all of these experiences wrapped together make me a great candidate for this position. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Emmons. Now we will go to Lynn Story-Heiler. You have 2 minutes to introduce yourself.
There we go. I was trying to unmute. Oh, sorry. I got to get back to this view. Thank you. Like everyone else has said, thank you to the League of Women Voters. We really appreciate this opportunity that you provide for us. It's a great way for the public to hear our platforms and our experiences and why we're running. So I really do appreciate that you provide this opportunity. So thank you very much. So I am Lynn Story-Heiler. I'm running for City Council Ward 2. And the beauty of elected positions is that we are a citizen democracy, which means that no matter who you are, whether you're old or young, no matter your ethnic background, everyone as a citizen gets to participate in citizen democracy. And one of those ways that we get to do that is running for election. So I'm very excited to be part of this process. I was born and raised in Cheyenne. I come from a long line of family who was involved in politics. My great-grandfather, William Story, was on the school board for 25 years, and Story Gym is named after him. My grandfather was a county assessor. My great-uncle, Ed Story, was instrumental in keeping Frontier Days alive when the Great Depression hit. And my father was on city council and ran for county commissioner. So I really do come from a background of people that want to give back to our community. And I just feel it is such a privilege that we have an opportunity to give back. I was on the Laramie County School District #1 Board of Trustees for 2 terms. And so I bring that as a background. I've been part of an elected position and running a large organization. I'm a director of a nonprofit in the downtown area. And so I do understand the unique challenges of a unique demographic. And I am running to be a fresh face and a fresh start. And I would appreciate your vote for Lynn Story-Heiler for City Council in Ward 2.
Thank you, Ms. Story-Heiler. And now we'll go to Dennis Rafferty for his 2-minute introduction.
I am Dennis Rafferty. I'm a candidate for the City Council Ward 2. My wife Cheryl and I have 3 adult children, 5 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren. I have lived in Cheyenne for 46 years. After my military service and attending college, I moved to Cheyenne to start my business in 1978. We formed DBR Distributing, which was a food distributing company for 37 years. For the last 5 years, I've been working for the city, which gave me the knowledge and the education on how the city works, which also gave me the experience to become an effective councilman. I was appointed to the Housing and Community Development Board, elected to the Personnel Commission for the City of Cheyenne, and a representative on the Benefit Committee. Because of my experience, I was asked to consider putting my name in for Ward 2 City Council. Plus, I wanted to teach my grandkids that it's everyone's responsibility for the well-being of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for that introduction. We are now going to go into the question portion of the evening. The candidates received a list of questions that were developed by a team of league members. The order of responses will rotate through the candidates, and each candidate will have 90 seconds for their response to these questions. And Mr. Chris Camargo, we are going to start with you for question number 1, which is, what do you believe are the greatest challenges and opportunities currently facing Cheyenne, and why?
Thank you. I think the greatest challenges that faces Cheyenne is youth support. There's very little for the youth of Cheyenne to confide into to incentivize them in a positive direction. We have many opportunities to invest in our youth, and all it takes is a little commitment. I do want to commend the Parks and Recreation for all they do for our community, which is a wonderful job. But I feel there are many opportunities out there to team up with sister organizations in support of the same cause. And that's all I got.
Thank you. Now we'll go to Mr. Seagrave. Tom, what is your response to the question? What do you believe are the greatest challenges and opportunities currently facing Cheyenne, and why?
In my opinion, there's no question. Our 3 greatest challenges are housing, water, and power. Anyone that tells you it's potholes or crime simply haven't looked at the numbers. And let me explain myself. Housing is critical, not just affordable housing, but all housing. Currently, according to the Chamber of Commerce, we are short 5,000 housing units. We are in the middle of an economic revolution in the city of Cheyenne. We are attracting businesses that we've never, ever seen in this area before. Everyone from data centers to hydrogen companies to nuclear reactor manufacturing companies. And if we cannot provide housing, this will all stop. In addition to that, water is absolutely critical. We have 22,000 acre feet of water in our reservoirs today. We use 14,000 square feet. So you would think we have lots of water, but we do not. We trade water from the west side of the Continental Divide in a reservoir called Hog Park, and we trade that so that we can take more water out of the Douglas Creek drainage. Hog Park is the equivalent of 70% of our water, and if there is a call on the Colorado River system, we would have to give up 70% of our water. So finding additional resources is critical. The new
Thank
business
you,
is
Mr. Seagrave.
okay. Thank you.
All right, we'll go on now to Mr. Rafferty. What do you think are the greatest challenges and opportunities currently facing Cheyenne, and why? You have 90 seconds.
To agree with Tom, is water. We differ with streets and housing, of course, and traffic. Water, because of our population growth, our building growth, is going to use a great amount of water. Streets is how the visitors may think about our city. Housing, cost, and just the right mixture for us. We might be 5,000 short, but you go to that 5,000, you're going to have a problem after everybody leaves, especially with the project set will coming. Opportunities, recreation, air travel, and as I mentioned, the Project Sentinel, and new but different retail businesses. And those is what I consider the opportunities and the challenges that we face.
Thank you. And now to Ms. Lynn Story-Heiler for her response about the greatest challenges and opportunities currently facing Cheyenne.
Thank you. So I, along with my other colleagues, do believe that housing is probably my #1 issue. We are short. Daily, I get people that are concerned about, we have families stacking up in homes because there is just no affordable rentals. There's no affordable housing. Houses under $300,000 are just not out there on the market. And so housing is a definitely one of my top priorities. Water goes along with that, and I do agree with that. I do beg to differ a little bit. I do think, I don't call it crime, I call it safety of our community is a top priority, and I include in that mental health. We have a lot of people with challenging mental health issues that affect our community. Drugs are a significant problem in our community, fentanyl and meth and marijuana, and we can't hide our heads to the crime that brings in. Homelessness is another significant problem. So I think those are some of the challenges. I also put in there transportation. Our opportunities are revitalizing our downtown. I'm really proud of the work that has been done to talk about the 15th Street project. I think we need to develop more partnerships with our LCCCs and our schools, that we build a workforce ready program so that the youth in our community can be trained and can stay in our community, and then attracting neighbors, coming to our festivals, coming to our arts, coming to cultural events, attracting Colorado, Nebraska. Thank you.
All right, and finally to Ms. Kathy Emmons for your response to this first question about what you believe are the greatest challenges and opportunities currently facing Cheyenne.
Okay, I see 3 primary challenges, and I think they're all linked. And I think all 3 have to be addressed. Just addressing one will not address the issues that we're going to be facing. The first one is diversification of our economy. And as Mr. Seagrave stated, we have started moving much more in a diversified way so that we're not just a single focus economy. So I think that's really important. And I think looking at what are other like businesses that we can attract based on what we have now is really critical. The second one is workforce, making sure that we have a quality workforce, because that's going to be key to the recruitment of new businesses. If we don't have people to work in them, it's not going to be successful. We've got some great programs going at LCCC for retraining folks and training, which are such a benefit for Wyoming, and we have such a great resource there. And then the third one, which most people have said, is the affordable housing. And I think the key there is public-private partnerships and getting really creative about what kind of materials are we using, making sure our zoning is appropriate and doesn't put in roadblocks for development in the future.
Thank you. And Kathy, we're actually going to start with you for question number 2.
Okay.
Which is, how would you prioritize funding for different types of city amenities distributed throughout various neighborhoods? What would be your highest priority, lowest priority? You've got 90 seconds.
This was a tough question. I think, first of all, again, we need to look broader than just what can the city do. I think we need to make sure that we're bringing other partners to the table. And a lot of that is with the county commissioners. The city doesn't have the funds to do everything. So we have to figure out how can we find our partners and exercise those resources as well. I very much support 6 penny funds. I think through public safety, roads, community enhancements, and infrastructure, we've done some great things with that. And I think that money is so beneficial because it's not borne just on the people who live here. It's also people who come and visit the community. So I think that's really important. And then continuing to provide resources for LEADs, DDA, those kind of programs that are helping us with economic development, but then also paying attention to those people-friendly things like green spaces and affordable housing, the infrastructure that some people consider the soft resources, but they're really imperative for the city. Those would be my priorities.
Thank you. And now we'll go to Lynn for her response about prioritizing funding for different types of city amenities distributed throughout various neighborhoods. What would be your highest priority, lowest priority? Lynn?
So I dug a little bit deeper into this, and I kind of went more liberally about, neighborhoods and priorities about neighborhoods. As I'm canvassing, as I'm going around, one of the things, and I know it's that buzzword that we don't want to talk about, but people are concerned about the roads. We have to be sensitive to that. We cannot hide our head and say, oh, that's not a priority, because for our constituents and people who I'm talking to, it is a priority. So our roads in our neighborhoods are a priority. I'm also concerned about safety in our neighborhoods. We have a lot of neighborhoods that have children. We have speeders. We need to be looking at resources of our public safety individuals. Can we set up the speed not traps, but where they calculate your speed so people can see how fast they were actually going, because I don't want children being harmed in neighborhoods. I think we had a biker hit just recently. Again, we need to control that in our neighborhoods. Each ward is different, very different. Their needs are very, very different. And we need to look at each neighborhood individually. We can't collectively say they're all the same neighborhood. We also need to look at the city council. Each ward has a budget. They have $20,000 that they can use in their wards. We need to look at what are the small projects that we can be doing with those dollars. So I really looked at kind of the drilling down to neighborhoods when I was looking at this conversation. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Dennis for his response regarding the prioritization of funding for different types of city amenities. Dennis, you have 90 seconds.
If you're looking at the neighborhood, the first thing you should do is probably talk to the neighbors and make sure that everything is their concern. If you're planning on the amenities and funding them, we could put them in the city budget, or we can get grants for it, like using them for small playgrounds and so forth. But I just heard Lynn talk about some of the high priorities, and I looked at my notes and I went, oh my gosh, that's the same thing. I do think safety is a high priority, and I think all amenities in the neighborhood are high priority, not just high and low, but safety and the streets, because the streets tell the story of the city. And if the city doesn't take care of its streets, it leaves a bad impression to visitors. And That's basically all I have to say about it.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Tom about would be his highest priority, lowest priority when it comes to different types of city amenities throughout the neighborhoods. Tom?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've had the blessing of the voters to work on 11 different city budgets. We always start with public health and safety. This governing body has built 3 new fire stations. We've bought new fire equipment. We've added 9 additional firefighters. We've added 14 additional police officers. This year alone, we are spending our largest budget ever on roads. We're spending $35 million this year on roads. Last Monday night at the city council, we approved a new program called Critical Traffic, where if you get 5 neighbors together and sign a petition, we will monitor that neighborhood traffic issue. We will put up temporary signs, flashing signs, speed signs as was directed. So that is a program that has been approved by the city council and is available today. So I always start with public health and safety. Then you go down from there. All of the other things that go into our community, the parks, the rec, the social platform. Our city council and the county commissioners helped Camilla buy an old hotel to house additional homeless people, particularly those with drug and alcohol that cannot go into the normal shelter. So we've done a lot of different things. We've hit a lot of different topics. I have 2 pages here.
Thank you, Mr. Seagrave.
You'd like to read them. Thank you.
All right, and finally, we'll go to Chris for his response to how would you prioritize funding for different types of city amenities distributed throughout various neighborhoods? What would be your highest priority, lowest priority?
I think one of my highest priorities would honestly be some of the same of the other candidates here. You know, I'm a big supporter of the 6 penny tax, and I think that would help subsidize a lot of our road infrastructure, which is much needed. You know, especially you know, getting the education on different types of infrastructure that could help better preserve the roads. And then probably a step below that would probably be the Parks and Recreation. I think that amenity in itself is going to pay a lot for the community, and it already has. You know, pertaining to neighborhoods and safety, you know, I feel little things like having bike lanes, because there's very few neighborhoods right now that have a bike lane, and I think having more additional bike lanes in our neighborhoods definitely will boost safety.
Thank you. Well, we are actually going to pause the questions for just a moment in order to do some flash feedback. So each candidate will be given a word or topic to respond to, and they will have 30 seconds to do so. Our Zoom master, Karen Meister Emmerich, is going to give the prompts for this flash feedback session. Karen?
Thank you. And the flash feedback is something I saw done, and it's kind of a fun way to get a lot of topics out there and have people do a quick response. And so, Kathy, you are number 1 on my list, and your word, and this is 1 to 2 sentences, 30 seconds, short-term rentals like Airbnb.
They certainly serve an important purpose, but they can't replace the housing we need for families in Cheyenne.
Thank you. Chris, you're next on my list, and your word is the Greenway.
Expansion. I think expanding the Greenway in a lot of our neighborhoods is huge. There's already a lot of the Greenway in our neighborhood right now, and just expanding upon it, you know, using a lot of our funds to expand that.
Thank you. Lynn, you're next. And Lynn, your word is arboretum.
Arboretum, as in the arboretum outside of town. That, yes, I love that place. I would say a jewel of the city that is hidden, and we need to uncover and get the word out that it is a jewel of this city.
Thank you. Tom, you're next. And your word is the term public transportation.
Public transportation encompasses many different things. It includes the Greenway, as Chris described. It includes our bus system, which is back to, after COVID, is back to its standard routes. It's working with the MPO to develop long-term projects that will handle the amount of traffic. Right now, we have a system that wasn't built for today's traffic, and we're constantly trying to update that. So planning is critical. It also includes rail to northern Colorado. We're working on that now.
Thank you. Okay, Dennis, you're last, and your term is public art.
Public art, we need more of it. It's that simple. It's great to go downtown and see public art, but we need to expand that, not just downtown, but maybe the north side of town, along Dale Range, and have it show the history of Cheyenne.
Thank you. Okay, back to you, Kari.
Thank you, everybody. We will go ahead and resume with a couple of more questions for everybody. Once again, you'll have 90 seconds for each of your responses. And we are going to start with Lynn for this third question. And that question is, how can Cheyenne leverage its historical and cultural assets to support existing businesses, recruit new businesses, enhance community pride, and attract tourism?
This is a great question. So, as I did a little bit of research on it, there is actually a term for this. It's called cultural heritage tourism. And what that really means is tourism connected to historical attractions, tourism connected to museums and theaters and festivals and concerts and galleries and arts, all of those kinds of things, bringing in tourism to our community, because we know that tourism is a billion-dollar industry a year. If we can bring people in, they're going to spend in our shops. They're going to go to our restaurants. They're going to want to continue to see what we have to offer. So how are we going to do this? We have to do some marketing. We have to market what we have here, let people know what we have here so they want to come here. We have to create visitor-friendly services. So, it's kind of hard if they're only open during the week and these great things are not open when people want to travel on the weekends. We have to provide things like, maybe could the trolley do some more going around to these historical places or these museums so that people could hop on, hop off. We need a public partnership and private partnership, and we need volunteers to go and clean up so that we have beautiful places for people to go that people will want to come back and see. So it really is a unique term and something that we need to focus on: cultural heritage tourism.
Thank you, Lynn. Chris, you're up next on this one. How can Cheyenne leverage its historical and cultural assets to support existing businesses, recruit new businesses, enhance community pride, and attract tourism?
I think one of the biggest things is renovation. Renovating downtown is going to definitely attract a lot of new businesses, but also helping the smaller businesses that are already out there. Showing that support is going to show the community that we do care. And I feel that that's going to bring in a lot more businesses. It's going to attract a lot more businesses because it's going to show them, yes, we do care about the beautification of downtown. And, and that's also going to show them a lot more dedication and pride that we have for our community. And that's all I have.
Thank you. And now we'll go to Dennis for how you think Cheyenne can leverage its historical and cultural assets.
marketing techniques. We need to promote events like Frontier Day, Friday at the Plaza, along with improvements to downtown. We need to market farmers market, Frontier Mall, Super Day, F.E. Warren and its historical sites. We need to invest in our people so that we can tell the story of Cheyenne's history and culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Now we'll go to Kathy for her thoughts on how can Cheyenne leverage its historical and cultural assets. Kathy?
Well, first of all, I think it's really important to recognize how much growth and development we've done in the last several years on the downtown area. 17th Street just looks so cool now. The 15th Street rail project that's being done. I think there's just a lot of growth and development. West Edge, the civic park, or the park across the street from the city hall. There's so many great things that are happening. But I think one of the things in Wyoming, and it's not just about this, that we don't do enough of, and that is glitz and gloss. Colorado has less substance, in my opinion, than we do. We've got substance, we're just not as good at showing it. Colorado may not have as good a substance, but they're great at showcasing it and making it glitzy and making sure everybody knows about it. So that's something I would like to see us do more of, is more of that glitz. And then really continuing with some of the activities. We're becoming a music hub, which is fantastic, with the Lincoln and the concerts on the plaza. So I think doing some more of that that's maybe a little bit more non-traditional can really help us build on what we've got and move forward.
Thank you. And finally, we go to Tom for his response to how Cheyenne can leverage its historical and cultural assets. Tom?
Well, thank you very much. And I would like to tell everyone we are doing it now. Tourism is the #2 industry in the state of Wyoming, and it's a huge industry in our community. There are new hotels being built because we don't have enough room for all the people that want to come here today. It's fabulous. Look out on West Lincoln Way. Look at the Hitching Post property. We have done, I believe, a very, very good job of incorporating our rail history, our military history, frontier days. We use our geographic location. All of these things go together, and it is working. If you talk to Dominic at the City County Visitors Bureau, they've done a new rodeo out at Archer. It is just fabulous what's happening here. And it goes back to our earlier discussion on transportation. We are part of the railroad passenger hub from Pueblo, and the northern end will be Cheyenne. It is critical that we become part of that, because that will help bring more tourists north. That should be completed by 2029. We're right now looking at where we're going to put the depot, whether it's at the depot or whether it's a new one on Reed Avenue as part of that redevelopment. There are so many wonderful things going on. We are so blessed in our community right now for both tourism and for infrastructure, for health and safety. It's just a wonderful time. Economic development. We have more companies wanting to move here than we can handle. It's fabulous. Thank you. Can't hear you.
All right, we're on to our last question before we move to closing statements. And we will start with Dennis for this question. So Dennis, on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being very unsafe to 5 being very safe, how would you assess the current state of public safety in our city? Please explain your answer. You have 90 seconds, Dennis.
My scale would be 4. These organizations have what you may call a very serious job. The men and women of the police department and fire department conduct themselves in the most professional manner. It is impossible to be perfect, but I know they strive towards it. As a councilman, it would be my position to make sure that they receive the training and tools to be able to carry out their profession. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll go to Chris. On a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being very unsafe and 5 being very safe, how would you assess the current state of public safety in our city? And please explain.
Right now, I would rate the current state of our public safety at a 3. You know, in the past 1 to 2 years, I have seen a vast amount of improvement, thanks to our wonderful law enforcement personnel. You know, I see them put the Facebook posts up of the catching all kinds of people on the most wanted list in Wyoming, and that's been great. You know, they're doing an awesome job. I do feel there needs to be a lot more education for them for situations like the growing fentanyl usage in our community. That really is kind of hush hush, I feel. And you know, the vandalism has picked up dramatically and plagues the city. You know, a lot of, you know, hand in hand with public safety is, you know, the suicide prevention, which I feel there's not enough programs out there for that right now. There were a couple of years ago, but those have fell by the wayside, and you know, are no longer a part of our community, unfortunately. And another part of that is education more on mental health. You know, that is another growing issue in our community that a lot of law enforcement.
Thank you, Mr. Camargo.
Oh.
All right, Lynn, on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being very unsafe and 5 being very safe, how would you assess the current state of public safety in our city? And explain your answer.
So I would agree. We're 3 for 3. I would agree that I would give it a 3 at this point in time. We definitely have room for improvement, but I don't think that it's as bad as it could be. I mean, I've seen other community cities that have a lot worse problems. So we have some really great resources. I'm just going to touch on a couple. Property crime. Chris talked a little bit about that. It is on the uprise. We need to make sure that property owners are getting restitution. So we need to be going to the judges, and we need to making sure that they are ordering restitution so that the property owners are getting paid back for the theft that they are incurring. We need to, the homeless problem is a problem, and it goes along, that problem goes along with severe mental health. So we need to be looking not only just providing a safe place for them to live or helping them find a safe place to live, but working with their mental health challenges. Now that's a public and private partnership. We've done some really good work with the Camilla shelters, but we need to have more of those resources, more of those discussions. We need to take on, as a community, that safety is going to be a priority and a mission that we're going to take on. Drugs, I agree, coming across the border is increasing, and the crime that comes with that and the dangers that come with that. We have seen an increase in homicides, and I think a lot of that has to do with drugs and mental health. And so we need to take a deeper dive into that. We need to have a committee that we're going to deep dive into it.
Thank you. And now to Tom. On a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being very unsafe and 5 being very safe, how would you assess the current state of public safety in our city? And please explain.
It's a 5. We're doing a fabulous job. I will walk any block anywhere in this city and not be afraid. Not many people can say that in their city. As I indicated earlier, we've hired 14 additional police officers, 9 additional firefighters. We are working diligently. The city has hired Clean and Safe, 4 full-time people to keep the downtown clean and to report any incidents of malfeasance in the downtown area. I think downtown is fabulous. Thank you to the voters for the 6 penny money for downtown. My opponents that talk about crime in Cheyenne simply have not read the book. Please read the 2023 police report. Let me give you some numbers very, very quickly. Crimes against property. In 2017, there were 3,584 crimes against property. That's 7 years ago. Last year, there were, I got another light, there were 3,575. Negligible. There's no increase over 7 years. Crimes against society. In 2017, there were 965. Last year, there were 851. It's gone down. Crimes against people. In 2017, it was 1,067. Last year, it was down. Can't hardly read it. I'm sorry, the light is bad. 1,057. It actually went down 10 in 7 years. If you look at the numbers, read the numbers, people. Crime is stagnant. It's not an issue.
Thank you, Mr. Seagrave.
Thank you.
And now to our final response, and that will be from Kathy. On a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being very unsafe and 5 being very safe, how would you assess the current state of public safety in our city and explain your answer?
I would give it a 4. And actually, Tom, I did read that report today. It is a really great report for people to take a look at. But I think there's 2 questions here. One is our community safe? And the second is the police department doing what they should be doing? And part of that, we are at that juncture between the 2 interstates, which just makes drug traffic easier. And that's just a reality that we have to deal with. And I did see in the report that 62% of the drug cases this last year involved fentanyl. And that was a major part of drug overdoses. And that's something that, it's all relative also. Do we have high rates of crime in Cheyenne? No. Do I feel safe here? Absolutely. But we do have some issues that we have to start dealing with maybe differently. I sit on the county's overdose review board, as well as the suicide review board. And so many of both of those instances involve drugs usage in Cheyenne. So I think that's something that we definitely have to pay attention to. And then, like Lynn said, there is the unhoused issue, and then also juvenile justice. We've got to pay attention to juvenile justice issues so that we can get those kids turned around so that they don't end up in a long-term life of detention.
Thank you. Well, each candidate will now be given 90 seconds for a closing statement. And so your last word for what you would like voters to know about you and your platform as you run for the Cheyenne City Council Ward 2. We will start with Tom. You have 90 seconds for your closing statement.
Thank you very much. I, again, appreciate the League of Women Voters for all your hard work, not just tonight, but on the questionnaires that you posted as well. It's a great service to the community. I am so proud of what this mayor and this council has done in the last 3.5 years. We have worked on public health and safety. I've identified that. We've worked on economic development. We've worked on roads. We're spending more on roads today than we've ever spent. We bought the Beast as a recreational facility. It's the first time the community has ever owned an indoor recreation facility. You want to keep kids out of trouble, put them in a gym. They love it. But we've never provided that for our community. We're now building a 30,000 square foot gymnastic facility. We've had 400 kids waiting on the list to participate in gymnastics. They simply did not have the facilities. This council is working on tourism, 15th Street, Reed Avenue. We're building the bike paths out on the Belvoir. They will be open next summer. This year, 6.5 miles of the 17 miles will be built. We're building a structure out there, bathrooms, parking lots, etc. I am a cheerleader for the community of Cheyenne. I think we have many, many wonderful things happening. And when I hear people criticize not working hard, I'll tell you, this group works harder than any I've ever been a part of. So thank you. I would appreciate your vote. I would like to serve you again.
Thank you. And now we'll go to Dennis for his closing statement. Dennis, you have 90 seconds.
First off, I won't need 90 seconds because it's short and sweet in my closing statement. First off, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters. You do an excellent job for everything, and it's just not Ward 2, it's every race there is, including state, I believe. So first of all, I'd like to tell everybody, please vote. And you can't go wrong if you vote for any of the 7 individual candidates running for Ward 2. Everyone is capable of doing the job. So I'd just like to say, I am Dennis Rafferty, and I ask for your vote on August 20th. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Next, we'll go to Kathy for her closing statement. You have 90 seconds. Kathy, you are muted.
Can you hear me? Okay, the reason I decided to run was I agree with Mr. Seagrave that the council and the mayor have done a phenomenal job in the last several years, and I don't want us to lose that forward momentum. I believe that my professional and personal experience can help add to that and continue that momentum forward. I feel like I have the skills, the passion, and the ability to get things done. I have a lot of experience at bringing diverse groups together and working on common goals. I love Cheyenne. Like I said, I've been here 37 years. I'm not in this for my ego. I'm in it for a point of service. I believe in servant leadership, and this is a big part of it. I think that it's important. One of the most important things that I will do if elected is to listen more and talk less. I think it's really important to make sure that we're getting the viewpoint of the people we serve. And I want to be able to work with that diverse group of people. So I would ask you for your vote, both in August and November. And thank you, League, for doing the work tonight.
Thank you. Now we'll go to Chris for his closing statement in 90 seconds.
First, again, I want to thank the league. This is my second forum. It was awesome. I appreciate you guys including me on this. You know, first and foremost, you know, I'm running not for myself. I'm running to help give the youth a voice, because they are inevitably the ones we are going to be passing the baton to. You know, I feel I would give the council some new energy, a different outlook. I agree 100% with Tom that the city is wonderful. You know, there's been a vast amount of improvements in the past 3 to 4 years, but it's not perfect. There is a lot of improvement that can happen. And I just ask for your vote. I appreciate you listening to me, and thank you.
All right, and finally, we will go to Lynn for her 90-second closing statement. Lynn?
Thank you, League of Women Voters, for providing this opportunity for us. So I am asking for your vote. And I would like to be your representative for City Council, Ward 2. I'm in it for the long haul. I'm going to be your representative for the 4 years that you put me in there. I'm going to work hard for you. I am going to listen to you. I am going to reach out to you. I'm going to provide opportunities where you can come and talk to us about the issues that are important to you. I will be there to listen to what you want to do. You know, I think that one thing we do a disservice sometimes when we make decisions for our constituents, when we don't reach out and get their input first before we make those decisions, we're doing a disservice to them. And I think the rate hike that we just did recently on the water, maybe we could have handled a little bit differently. I am going to also be fiscally responsible. I'm going to make sure that the dollars that we are appropriating go to where they need to go, and taking critically look at this is the people's money. This isn't my money. This isn't in, the mayor's money. This is the people's money, and we need to make sure that we are fiscally looking at that the way that we need to do that. That I am so proud of Cheyenne. I love Cheyenne, and I do think that we have room for growth. And so I am willing to put the effort in and put the work in. I am here to be a fresh face and a fresh start, and I will work hard for you. I wish for your vote. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Lynn, Chris, Kathy, Dennis, Tom, for your participation in this forum. Thank you for running for office.